I should introduce my guest as the Stand-Up Philosopher. He was the storyteller before the break, and he's settled down now and is ready to talk a little bit about Bruno Latour. I should explain a MOOC is a massive online open course, which is really a lot of web technology applied to universities or some schools are beginning to use them as well. I think there's going to be a GCSE one on computing, which is going to come up at BET next week. But I think most of them seem to be coming at university level, and the French have a new scheme. It's called FUN, which is something like French university numerical. Numerique is their word for digital. And one of the first courses is Bruno Latour, which I've signed on for, but I need, I think, a lot of help in understanding the course and the background to the course. And would you say just a little bit about how you work as a stand-up philosopher and what happened in the bike shed last night?
Oh, last night? Yeah, I've been boasting about it all morning off and on. I did about 40 people, bike shed, so part of the wonderful Devon with Love festival. And that was a show that was much more in my own voice. But what I do is I take an idea and I turn it into almost into a drama, or into a point that you'll think. So I'll give you one I did yesterday, which links vaguely to Bruno Latour, which was about Derrida. Now, Derrida is a French philosopher, wins the citation for the most pretentious and least useful of all modern philosophers year on year. There is one, and he wins it. But at the core, he has this incredibly powerful idea, which is that writing changes the way you think. And so that maths only makes sense if you write it down. And that is, of course, actually true, because numbers tend to exist in literate cultures and don't exist in the same way in non-literate cultures. So he's actually right about that. And I actually use that when I'm teaching maths to kids, because one of my other day jobs, I'm a maths tutor. And actually, once you explain it in terms of Derrida to kids, they really get the hang of it. And I can explain that to an audience of adults, and they'll really get the hang of it too. And so you're giving people ideas, but you're doing it in a kind of a dramatic, powerful, storytelling way. So with funny voices, with moving around, with actually being possessed by the spirit of Marx, that kind of stuff. And I did it to an audience of about 40 people, 35, 40 in the bike shed yesterday, and it was wonderful. One of the loveliest. If you were in that audience, thank you very much. You were wonderfully warm.
And so was Latour included in that?
Now I've never done Bruno Latour as a performance. He's at the edge of the philosophers that I feel I have studied deeply enough to be able to do that on, if that makes sense. So there's the postmodern philosophers I do in that show are all the others. So I do Deleuze, I do Derrida, I do Foucault, I do a little bit of Lyotard and a little bit of Bourdieu. And that's because all of those are philosophers I have read really properly, and so I've read them for hours. I can cite you references. I know where I am in them. Bruno Latour is a little bit. He's younger than those are, and he's more anthropological. And I have read less of him, but I mean I still know a bit about him.
So, if you were just starting to explain, I know you can do Foucault in 4 minutes.
Yeah, 4-minute Foucault.
There is a YouTube.
Yes, there's a YouTube
video of this,
and Marx in 3 minutes as well.
So I don't know how long you can stay, but how would you start to explain what Latour is doing?
Latour is interested in one of his background. I think, as far as I know, is anthropology. And French anthropology was always rather interested in where ideas come from. Because if you go into other cultures and they have other ideas, one of the things you're up against is what is the connection between things that people think of as true and their culture. And the West has anthropology was traditionally done that the West assumed that they were right and that science was obvious, and everybody else's way of thinking needed explaining, and the way you explained that was by using their culture. And so up until 1980, and it really was 1980, anthropology, understanding knowledge, was a separate discipline from epistemology, which was kind of philosophy and understanding science. So the philosophy of science was different from the philosophy of culture, or the anthropology of culture.
Right.
And what happens, spearheaded actually by Bourdieu, but also then Latour, who was following him up and advancing him, is the idea that actually the tools that you've developed in the field, understanding other cultures, are flipping good for understanding how knowledge is made in our culture too. And so there's no such thing as modern society. There's no point you can go, that's science, they do it differently. Because actually science is full of artifacts that are very carefully decontextualized, numeratized, so made numerical, and then contextualized in a different context, which is a society, a community of scientists. And you can understand that as a social phenomena without impacting anything about the truth statements of the scientists, because you're not questioning whether they're right or not. You're just seeing how they do it, but seeing the kind of cultures that you need to do in order to understand how it is done.
So one of his books is called We Have Never Been Modern.
Yes, it would be called We Have Never Been Modern. It is the book I know, unfortunately, the book I know very well, the one I feel competent to talk about, is called Pandora's Hope. So we might be a bit at cross purposes there. And I've just given you a summary of Pandora's Hope. But We've Never Been Modern, I know a bit about it. It's that kind of idea. It's the idea that you can't say that there is a huge seismic division between the West and science and the way we understand the world and our democracy and everybody else. That seismic division that doesn't necessarily exist, and you can use tools from one to understand the other.
So is it historical then? I mean, is this modernity, is that seen as happening at a particular date?
Yes. Yes, in the Enlightenment. French Revolution, if you're French. If you're English, something about Locke.
Okay.
There is a theory that falls in and out of fashion called the Big Ditch theory, which says that sometime at the end of the 17th century and at the beginning of the 18th century, knowledge changed, and that there was a Rubicon rather than a big ditch, and there was a Rubicon of scientific knowledge that gave you access to a different way of understanding the world. And that was a scientific way that was somehow different and better, or at least more truthful. And that Rubicon, once it's crossed, can never be crossed back again, and gives you a right then to say different things about your knowledge to everybody else's knowledge. And it's one of the great kind of divides in disciplines. So where I started, anthropology, never believed in the Rubicon. Or at least it had, by the time I was studying it in the early 1980s, we didn't believe in the Rubicon. But that had been the dominant idea. And one of the anthropologists, one of the famous French anthropologists, Lévi-Strauss, has this elaborate way of understanding other cultures that he says you can't apply to modern society. And what Latour is saying is, no, you can. And he's working out how you can apply it to modern society, because you apply it by modern society by making it richer and deeper and better at understanding all cultures.